Just before we dive back into the episode, I wanted to quickly share something that might interest you, especially if today's conversation has got you thinking about your own sustainability work. Some of the things we hear most in this industry are, I wish I could connect with other people doing this work, or I'd love to turn my sustainability expertise into something more. Well, 51 to Carbon Zero, the sponsor of this podcast, have created their own referral network. And it does exactly that. This isn't about selling you something, it's actually about helping you make money while building the sustainability community we all need. So here's what's in it for you. First, you get to join a genuine community of sustainability experts who share knowledge, refer work to each other, and solve problems together. So, no more working in isolation. Secondly, there's real money involved. There's 10% plus commission on software referrals. We're talking about projects that go from 30 grand up to 100 grand. Plus, you'll be able to boost your presence by taking part in our fireside chats. I've actually got an email in front of me from Louise Stevens, one of the ambassadors, and it says that all her clients are genuinely happy because she's got a great partner and her clients love them. But here's the bigger picture. You'll be helping accelerate the sustainability transition that we all desperately need. Every referral, every connection, every collaboration moves us closer to the world we're all working towards. If this resonates with you and you want to earn some extra income, click the link in our show notes to become a 51 to Carbon Zero ambassador. Okay, back to the show. Welcome to the Green Element podcast, where we meet business leaders and innovators transforming their operations to be more environmentally and socially sustainable, and in the process help you on your journey of sustainability. I'm your host, Will Richardson. Today we are speaking with James Close, the head of climate change at NatWest. NatWest's ambition is to be the leading bank in the United Kingdom and the Republic of Ireland, helping to address the climate challenge. Their purpose is to champion the potential of people, families and businesses. NatWest is the principal partner and banking sponsor of COP26. James has had a broad range of experience throughout his career and has worked for several high-profile accounting firms, including Arthur Andersen, Deloitte, Ernst & Young, to name a few. In January of this year, he became the head of climate change at NatWest Group. James, welcome.
Thank you, Will. Great to be with you.
Let's start off a bit about you, if I may.
Of course.
You transitioned from financial and strategic roles into sustainability leadership roles. How did that come about?
Well, it's a really interesting question that I've been thinking about a little bit recently. I started off in finance partly because I studied chemistry at university and realized that I needed to understand business if I was going to achieve my career objectives. And then I found myself drawn to working with utilities and in the power sector as well. So got into energy really at that point. And then I spent a bit of time at the Treasury where I was working on public-private partnerships. So I got this sort of relationship between public and private and the role that energy plays. And as I was exploring that more and more, I was invited, I think it was about 15 years ago now, to Sheffield to hear Al Gore give his speech on An Inconvenient Truth. And at that point, I thought, why aren't we doing everything that we can to address climate change? And what can I do personally to get involved and to help support that work? So I went back to the managing partner at EY and said, look, I think this is really serious. It's a great opportunity for us as a business. What should we do? And he invited me to work on building a climate change and sustainability services practice. And we did some amazing work for the Mayor of London, who was Boris Johnson, now the Prime Minister, of course, on London as a low carbon capital. And we did some work on the UK's comparative advantage of green business. But at that stage, it was quite hard to make a business case around sustainability. So I thought I would try and see how I could broaden my perspective and also link what I was doing in sustainability to what I think is the biggest challenge that we face, which is the real inequity that comes from failing to address climate change. The poorest and the most vulnerable, who've done the least to contribute to emissions, are the ones who are going to be most affected by climate change. So I thought I would work with the World Bank. I was very lucky to get a job there. And within a year, I was appointed as Director for Climate Change. And that really got me at the heart of the conversation we were having at the World Bank about how finance is a means for achieving our objective of eradicating extreme poverty, but also using it to mobilize climate solutions and build a resilience in economies. And ahead of the Paris Agreement, we committed to increasing our climate finance to 28% of our total annual lending from about 15%. So we spent 4 years really increasing our lending, building climate change into the whole system and the way in which we lent. And I saw some amazing results as a consequence of that, both in terms of how countries like Morocco were prepared to put this right at the heart of their economic plans, and how Pacific Islands really needed to think about this finance to address the existential threat of rising sea levels and build adaptation in their coastlines, in the way in which they work and they live. And it just brought home the power of finance. And I've always believed that finance should be purpose-led. So when NatWest came calling and said they were building a purpose-led bank and they wanted to put climate change at the heart of it, I was really excited to hear about their plans and delighted when they offered me the job as head of climate change. And it's been great to be here for the last 4.5 months, working with the team to build out the ambition that we've got and really embed it in everything that we do and take advantage of the fantastic opportunity we have of sponsoring COP.
And it is amazing what turnaround we've seen with NatWest with regards to climate change. I mean, we can't pretend that there is no history, but it's now being recognized as one of the leading big banks in this space.
Yeah, it's incredible. And there is something about being part of the problem of the previous financial crisis, which of course RBS was caught up in, and then building a bank that can be part of the solution to the next crisis. I mean, we've dealt with COVID quite well in terms of the support that we provided for our customers, and obviously they've had some terrible times, but we've been alongside them to support them. But we're aware that climate change is something that we've got to be on top of for the next decisive decade. That people are talking about the 2020s being the decisive decade when we halve emissions so that we can get ourselves onto a net zero journey. And that's what our ambition is. We want to halve the climate impact of our financing over the next by 2030. And that's really galvanizing in terms of the organization's energy. We harness the amazing leadership of our chief executive, Alison Rose, and the full commitment of the board and the exec to get behind it. And so it's a great opportunity to embed climate in everything that we do and see the opportunities that come from climate. We've got to finance this transition. We've got to figure out how we're going to get money to mobilize a new hydrogen economy, for example. I mean, how are we going to retrofit the homes in Britain that are cold and leaky as a result of the fact that they've been built in, many in Victorian times? So from that point of view, mobilizing the finance to support our customers is a fantastic opportunity. And we're really delighted to be part of that and working in partnership with so many other great organizations who are alongside us in this endeavor.
With your experience, do you think the financial sector is responding quickly enough to the climate emergency?
I mean, that's a really interesting question. I think what's been, again, really quite extraordinary is Mark Carney and the role that he's played, both to set the narrative around what finance needs to do. And he initiated that when he was at the Bank of England, of course, through TCFD. He's been a very vociferous advocate of carbon pricing, but also as the UN ambassador for climate finance and the advisor to the UK presidency on climate finance, he's mobilized this coalition for net zero, the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero. And I think there's over $23 trillion worth of asset owners who have committed to net zero. Asset managers are also bought into it. We hear a lot about BlackRock and what Larry Fink's doing. And then, of course, many of the banks have also signed up to it as well. And we were delighted to be one of the first signatories to that initiative. So I think there is a lot of momentum building. I think we have to be realistic about the scale of the challenge as well. We also have to think about how we can best deploy our balance sheet to support the transition. Of course, that requires some difficult choices to be made. And we've made some of those in the context of our lending to coal and oil and gas. And others are going to have to follow. And we're all going to have to figure out the way to do this in a way that supports our customers, but facilitates the transition and measures the impact of what we're doing.
Yeah, it's really interesting, that divestment issue and what banks are doing it, and who's doing it. And we're seeing a lot of the universities now looking at the same thing and going, actually, we need to start thinking about who we're going to be investing in and why we should be investing in what we're doing. And I think we're seeing a lot about pensions as well at the moment. I know that we, Green Element, have signed up to the pension scheme, but we only have ever put pensions into more ethical funds, and pensions are a big part of the finance, but it leads straight back to finance again. I mean, almost all paths lead to finance in one form or another.
Absolutely, and I think that's what attracted me to this. Now, finance can't do it by itself. We need to set long-term policy that enables finance to be mobilized for the right things, and we need behavior change from customers as well to support the transition. But it's really interesting, Will, the point you make about pensions. And some of the conversations that I had with some of the leading thinkers in the pension industry at the World Bank were really interesting, because what's the point of giving somebody a pension 30 years from now if they can't spend it because we're living through a climate emergency and 2 degrees of warming? So it is in the interests of the pension investor, both as an individual and as the fund manager, to make really good decisions around that. Then the fund manager can do it on behalf of the individual, and we as individuals can also request that we're doing as much as possible to make sure our retirement isn't encumbered by having to address climate change, and that we can live in a stable world of a temperature rise of no more than 1.5 degrees. So that asset and liability matching is right at the very heart of the role that finance can play.
And looking at NatWest, and within the NatWest website, you have on it that you have a belief that there must be a reciprocal relationship with society, the environment, and communities. Could we delve into how you see this playing out, please?
Well, so I think we start here with the concept of purpose. And we worked with the Blueprint for a Better Business around our purpose and defining our purpose. And they have 4 different areas that are important around purpose. One is the sort of intergenerational equity piece, which is where we get into the climate change bit. The other bit is communities that we're part of and linking more directly with them and what we do to support them, which of course is historically what banks have done. And it's something that we want to make sure that we're doing the most that we can to support those communities. And of course, alongside that, we have our employees who are also members of those communities and our customers. And bringing all those stakeholders together in a purpose-led strategy enables us to really reframe the way in which we make decisions and how we prioritize what we do. But of course, there's no point being a purpose-led company if you don't make money and you go out of business. So we also have to make profits. But that leads us to some, really difficult choices and trade-offs that we have to make. And what we found is this purpose-led framework helps us to make those choices a lot more effectively. And actually, I think we find a lot of positive energy and goodwill coming from staff members and customers as we make those choices.
Brilliant. And you're being asked more and more about climate change and how it's affecting your clients' businesses, I believe, as well.
Yeah, of course. And we're really proud of the work that we've been doing with Octopus to give our customers access to electric vehicle recharging networks at a lower cost, and also use it to install vehicle charging where that's appropriate. And we're also collaborating with Microsoft to give customers access to carbon footprinting data, because that's going to be really important for them to make better choices in terms of how they change their operations to get access to low carbon energy, how they engage with their supply chain to make sure they're building a supply chain that has sustainable businesses within it, and how they can link that to the way in which their products get used by their customers. So, that measurement side is also really important of the partnership that we're building with customers. And we're using, we know we can't do it all ourselves, which is why we've enlisted the help of some of these leading organizations. And, we've had some other great conversations. So lots more really exciting things in the pipeline, I think.
And that, going back to that data, I guess you're in a really amazing position because you have that opportunity to be able to help your customers through the choices that they make, because you can see the ramifications that can potentially happen through, I guess it's about educating your commercial managers or relationship managers and helping them help their customers on their journey.
Yeah. And again, we've had a fantastic response to some of the work that we've been doing with the Cambridge Institute for Sustainable Leadership and the University of Edinburgh to put together really, high quality, engaging programs for our staff. And then also make available refresher courses and other training that supports them in making those decisions. It really becomes then a team endeavor for us all to educate ourselves as much as possible and to be alongside our customers as they start on their journey, or indeed for many customers who have already quite well advanced, to take them to the next level and also to learn from them. And, that's one of the reasons why we wanted to sponsor the COP, is so that we could profile customers so that other people could learn from what they're doing and how we're helping them. And I think that's a really important part of the whole collaboration exercise, so that we can profile success and build confidence that other people can follow it. I mean, it's a bit like your podcast, Will. We're spreading the message here, and we're all kind of engaging in the conversation in a way that hadn't happened in the past, so that we build up this, a sense of confidence that when we act, it is going to make a difference, and it's going to be good for our businesses, good for our customers, and good for the planet.
I think that's it, isn't it? It's learning off each other, understanding where we can do better, and listening to everyone around us. And our bank is a big part of the business that we're all running. And many SMEs are, running their businesses, and to have an element of expertise coming from their bank is massively beneficial.
Yeah, well, and again, I think there's a two-way feedback loop, isn't there? I mean, we need to hear what our customers need so that we can respond to it. I mean, we're doing a lot of market research and market segmentation, of course. But some of the most exciting things that I've done since I joined have been sitting on some of the customer panels where we hear what customers are doing. And it's really inspiring to hear them share their experiences with one another, and give the feedback to us about what more we could be doing to support them. And I get a really positive sense of what is possible here. Of course, turning plans into action is always the difficult thing. But I think once you can see the vision of what the future can be, you can start to bring people along with you and be part of that journey. And that, I think, is tremendously exciting. And let's not underestimate the scale of the challenge either, Will. I mean, we know that we really do need to act very quickly if we're not going to find climate change gets into a runaway situation. And we if we do it in the UK, that's great, and we can show leadership. But we need other countries to come along as well, which is obviously why it's been so important to have the US back into the Paris Agreement and some of the proposals that the Biden administration are putting forward.
No, absolutely. And this leads me nicely into the fact that you've set up a new climate centre of excellence within NatWest. Can you tell our listeners what this is and how it will help NatWest achieve its environmental ambitions?
Well, we're a small group of dedicated and committed professionals with deep knowledge of climate change and lots of experience around it. And we work in the strategy and ventures team. So we're really shaping the future for NatWest together with, our teams who are working on environmental, social and governance issues and working on the corporate strategy as well. And many of our ventures, which are the businesses of the future really for us in dealing in financial services. But we really want to be catalytic. We're there to work with the frontline business operations. We're there to help them develop their plans and implement them. We're there to coordinate the messaging that we can give and to bring the best practice thinking that's out there. And we're always trying to stay a step ahead. We're looking at things like carbon pricing and carbon markets, which we think are going to be really important parts of the future financial architecture that's going to be in place. But we want to be catalytic. I mean, we don't have this desire to take over everything. We just want to be that sort of, grit in the oyster that creates this wonderful pearl of climate action across the whole business. And I think it was brilliantly conceived. I mean, it was conceived obviously before I joined. And I think it's working really well. We've got a lot of positive engagement with the business. And we can amplify what others are doing by taking, our small group of people and applying the learning elsewhere. And then, of course, we have other teams working on the education side and the training side, on the marketing side, on the data and the analytics side. So you're building this whole kind of framework within the bank that enables climate change to run through everything that we do. And that's very much, what Mark Carney talks about in terms of the objective of Glasgow, that climate change should be at the heart of every financial decision that every organization and every individual makes, if we're going to really drive the ambition that we have to get us to climate stability.
And I think you're proving that over and over certainly in the conversations we're having at the moment, because you've also got the Climate Accelerator program. And I believe that 50% of all businesses you want to help have to be in the climate.
25. At the moment,
25% at the moment. That's still an amazing ambition. And it's just helping so many businesses. And having been through the program prior to those things and watching how helpful you are on that program. And I urge any of our listeners who are smaller businesses to absolutely go and have a look at the program that we're talking about through NatWest and just apply, because you will find it massively beneficial.
Well, that's great to hear, Will. And, thanks very much. The best advocacy comes from your customers, doesn't it? And so thank you very much. I really appreciate that endorsement.
So if we could have a look at what NatWest are doing from an environmental point of view. So we start looking about how you engage your staff with your mission and purpose.
I think the first thing that we're doing is it comes from the top. So we had a climate week where we had Alison, our chief executive, very heavily engaged. She and I did an all-staff town hall to discuss what we're doing on the climate side of things. we've got an extraordinary group of mainly young people, but not exclusively young people, working on the Sustainable Futures Network, and this is one of our employee-led networks. They're up to 2,000 people who've joined that group, and they're really picking up the baton and driving it through the businesses, ranging from ideas around how we, reduce the footprint of our operations, from our branches to our offices, right the way through to how we think about investing in our pensions. And they also do some fantastic events where they get customers along and entrepreneurs to share their experiences and inspire people within that network. And then I think the COP sponsorship gives us a great opportunity to engage staff. So a lot of our material on our intranet is about how we're preparing for COP, the role that we're playing alongside the UK government. And we're also, as I said earlier, profiling customers, but also staff members in terms of what does climate mean for you. So we're all becoming more conversant with the issues, and we're all connecting with it in a more deeper level, which I think gives us a great opportunity then to have different types of conversations in our communities and with our customers. So it does feel as though it's embedding throughout the whole organization.
And do you publicise your footprint?
Yeah, we do.
Internally and externally.
We've the climate-related disclosures report, which we produced in March alongside the annual results, was very well received. It's very detailed, goes into a lot of information around our operational footprint, what we've done to reduce it. It's reduced quite significantly, obviously, in the last year with COVID. But we went beyond that. We also looked at the footprint of the impact of people working from home. And we were able to quantify that, and we bought carbon offsets to offset it. So that's all very transparently disclosed there. And we've also taken it a little bit further in our ESG report, which we call our Purpose in Action, which is much broader than just the climate piece, but talks about the other areas of purpose-led activity that we're putting in place, and putting the whole series of information and measures around it. And it ranges from, how our lending is split across sectors, to, what we're doing in communities and local programs to support our purpose. Again, we've done a lot, but we've got a lot more to do, Will, as well. I think we need to be really transparent on our credible transition plans, which is what we work with the oil and gas companies to justify continuing lending to them. And we need to continue to earn the right to call ourselves a leader, and others are catching up very quickly as well. So we constantly have to challenge ourselves about what more we can do.
And on the lending side, do you lend businesses that are more, environmentally friendly or more purpose-led? Do they get more favourable rates?
Yeah, so we have a green mortgage proposition for our retail customers. It's a relatively small discount from the ordinary mortgage, some really good uptake around all of that. We've also incentivized people before the green grant scheme was taken away to take up that green grant, with giving them some cash back if they did that and took some lending up with us for it. I think what's really interesting is the way in which the green bond and sustainable finance market is going to emerge in terms of sustainability linked bonds, particularly where there's either a penalty or a discount, depending on whether businesses have delivered against their sustainability targets. And I think that's going to become increasingly important as we look at lending and financing in a carbon constrained world, because we're going to have to optimize our balance sheet for those carbon constraints. And we're going to need to know, what customers are emitting today, but also what their future plans are, because the matching of our finance will need to go alongside the emissions trajectory each individual business has. And that's what goes at the heart of the transition. It's very easy to count what we call the bright green, the renewables lending. but the as Mark Carney calls it, the 50 shades of green. I mean, how are you moving from the darker shades to the brighter green shades, and how are you helping also brown businesses change to be green businesses? And you look at it in for example, oil and gas services. There's a massive opportunity for those businesses to be part of the offshore oil and renewables revolution. And how do we support them as they transition their businesses to take their core capabilities they had in supporting offshore oil and gas and applying them to offshore wind power. So lots to do around all of that. I think we've got a lot of work to embed this into credit decisions as well, which is where the pricing will come into it. But they're all things that are very much on our radar and very much part of what we're trying to deliver.
That's really interesting. So have you got any advice? I mean, you've seen so many businesses and you've worked in a variety of different sectors. And what sort of advice would you give organizations that are starting out on their journey?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing is educate yourself and your staff and your colleagues about where we are on this kind of climate journey. I mean, understand the risks that we face if we don't address climate change and the consequences of that, because that is what is going to be really galvanizing, I think, for all of us. There's a brilliant Netflix documentary coming out very shortly by Johan Rockström. If you've listened to anything, listen to him talk about tipping points and the Earth systems and the fragility of those, and how we're getting very close to some of those tipping points, and indeed beyond them for coral reefs and maybe for Arctic and Antarctic sea ice as well. So I think that creates the burning platform for action. And talk to your kids about it as well, and the next generation, because they are genuinely worried about what's potentially might happen here. And then I think the second part is to really do some of the easy things. I mean, not that anything's particularly easy, but things that are maybe a little easier, which is understand your current footprint, look to sourcing renewable energy and green energy. Think about what you're doing in terms of your waste management. Look at how you can improve energy efficiency across your operations. All of those things are things that can yield some pretty rapid returns and benefits. And then, start thinking about how you embed climate in all of your propositions, and how you think about sustainability in all your engagement with customers, and see if you can really make sure that it's in the mainstream of your business, but also think about new propositions and new opportunities that it presents. I think there's great scope as well for creating more sustainable business models, whether they're circular economy businesses that are really helping facilitate the reduce, sharing, reusing, and recycling economy that's out there, and then make sure that you're telling your story about where you've come from and where you're heading, and how you plan to get there, because that's, I think, a very powerful tool of engagement. It's also a very good way of learning. I mean, no organization gets all of this right first time through. So when you reflect on what your expectations you're setting for yourselves, the targets you've got, how you're delivering against them, there's a great opportunity to learn and to continuously improve.
I think that's really wise and really important to note. I mean, I know a law firm that actually categorize their new customers now into risky clients. And if they are a client or a potential client that looks like they're not going to do anything, they won't take them on. So you've already got organizations now looking at the profile of you as an organization, which is only going to get more and more down the line. So really wise words. Thank you so much for joining us today, James. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Well, thank you, Will. I mean, great conversation, and really enjoy your podcast and the work that you're doing. It's fantastic to see the contribution you're making, and delighted to be a small part of it.
brilliant. Thank you very much. And thanks for listening to the Sustainable Business Podcast. If you want to learn more about sustainable business and talk to other like-minded professionals, why not join our online community at sustainabilitysolved.org. Join now and find a space to collaborate, learn and inspire others to become more environmental. And if you enjoy the podcast, make sure you subscribe so you get every episode. And don't forget to follow Green Element on LinkedIn, Twitter and Instagram. So you really enjoy sustainability and want to be a part of the solution. Come and join our vibrant community now. Book a call and we can talk more.